Alright, this is Spider-Man's Web 46. I got a request to review a story with the villainess of this one, Nocturna. I didn't have the story in question, so instead I went and grabbed an issue I had with Nocturna. That issue was Spider-Girl 16, which is a really good issue. I wish I was reviewing that, but I didn't want to review that because it wasn't that long ago I reviewed another issue of Spider-Girl. So instead, here is a fill-in issue of Spider-Man, and it's actually pretty fucking good. Guest starring Hank Gordon from the Avengers. What I didn't expect was how heavily keyed into my video about Satan's Son's 90 series this would be. This is by C. Richard Howell. The fake names are really taking a beating this year. And he is best known probably for the Vision and Charlotte Witch with Steve Englehart. The 12-issue maxi series that, nice idea, unfortunately, Steve Englehart was writing. And this issue of Spider-Man is practically a follow-up to the Family Ties story from West Coast Avengers and Vision and Charlotte Witch. And then also the final issue of Vision and Charlotte Witch. The other thing C. Richard Howell is known for is the Orkin Man series in the 80s. The thing I know him for, however, is he had a better idea for Satan's Son than what we got in the 90s, which he then reworked as its own thing elsewhere, with David Peter writing. I know my subscriber Robert is mad into his Steve Englehart West Coast Avengers, so I reckon you Robert, you should track this one down. It'll feel like you have found a missing chapter. It is the sort of story that I wish was collected in West Coast Avengers collections. This is, to me, a meaningful story to West Coast Avengers. Yeah, it is a Spider-Man story, but it is written and penciled by someone who was involved with those West Coast Avengers stories. And it has characters from those stories. It is developing a plot from a loose end from those stories. Peter Parker has come to what might as well be Riverdale on his book tour. And this idyllic town has lately become a hotspot for anger and violence. What's going on there, huh? The cover has already given it away. So Spider-Man, he tries to intervene, and yeah, he is on his book tour. In 1989, Peter Parker released a coffee table book, which was his photographs of Spider-Man. It was a subplot thing that people know because it was in the Todd McFarlane issues. So he is on a talk show here promoting his book, and quickly, one thing that I adored, well, I wouldn't say adored, actually I would, because Nocturna would hate someone adoring anything. So I adored that in this, Nocturna is using a ad alias from Spider-Girl, Adrienne Atros. In fact, this issue is even building on a lot of the stuff from Spider-Girl 2. I think I like this C. Richard Howell guy. The way he approaches stories and builds them on the back of continuity, rather than stripping down the continuity and rebuilding on top of it like some other writers who pitched for the 90s Satan Son series would do. Nocturna has again opened up another private therapy clinic, just like she did in that Spider-Girl story. But this time, it is in this town. And Nocturna's clinics are a front for, in those art stories, it was a death cult. But this time, it is focusing more on a main agenda, which is spreading hate and violence. Nocturna, she thrives on hate. Remember that shite Leather Legion series where the short scene with Nocturna treated her albino skin like it was makeup, and then it had her talk about love, and she was like the compassionate one. Fucking dross that. Spider-Man investigates the clinic and he finds funky light shows, brainwashing and controlling the citizens of Riverdale Jr. Nocturna has also put chemicals in the water to make the frogs eat. I'm getting a lot of SeaWorld Attacks vibes from this. So, Spider-Man, in what is always one of my favourite bits of rationale, he phones up the Avengers for assistance. We have got Scarlet Witch, sunbathing. There's one for the lads, eh? We get some direct references to the Vision and Scarlet Witch series here. Spider-Man guest starred in one issue of that. We have also got what I assume is a miscoloured Vision in the background. He calls Scarlet Witch Darling, and I don't know who else would call her that, but he is coloured like a normal human, and he is about to dive into the pool. Because of the chemicals, they send Hank Gordon, and this is peak Hank Gordon. This is following his attempted suicide when he had a renewed lease on life, but also sensibly had come to the conclusion that superheroics wasn't the right fit for him, and instead science is his true superpower. In an ideal world, I think Hank Gordon would have stayed as Hank Gordon, the super scientist who shrinks an arsenal down and puts it in his pocket. Some people complain that it is too overpowered and he was being used as a Deus Ex Machina a lot, with him pulling out whatever the plot required from his pockets. But I liked that he was often prepared. He is meant to be a genius, and obviously he cannot produce something from his pockets to resolve every single plot ever. I liked this version of Hank Gordon the best, and I think you should too. Also, I recommended this issue to Robert, the subscriber, and this is one of those stories where they could have also sent Dr. Droom. Can never have a shortage of Dr. Droom, can ya? And it was only like 3 issues ago that Spider-Man had another team up with the Doctor. Really, you cannot go wrong with Dr. Droom. Unless you're a woman. And of course, Nocturna and Dr. Droom in 90s Satan's son. But we don't talk about that, do we, Robert? As for Aunt Gordon being overpowered, or Mary Sue, I think that is only the case with shoddy writers. Here, for example, well, he gets caught by Nocturna pretty much straight away as well. He was too busy focusing on his test tubes. Didn't notice the cult sneaking up on him. Oh yeah, the cult is actually in this. I made it sound like they weren't before. But I do think that the cult have changed from being a death cult to being a hate cult. And Nocturna, her main objective here is spreading hate to the peaceful town of Riverdale. I heard she made it so those stuck-up kids kicked Homer Simpson out of Riverdale and told him never to come back. We also continue a plotline with Jim Reaper, Jim Reaper's body. Jim Reaper died in Family Ties, that story between West Coast Avengers and Vision and Charlotte Witch. And then in issue 12 of that, issue 12 of Vision and Charlotte Witch, she had tried to resurrect them. And then after this, she will resurrect them again. And that time, it'll be more permanent. You know, since I am recommending this to at least Robert, and I'll tell you what, Mark as well, you were into Nocturna, and you don't mind Steve Engeltine, so maybe you like his 80s Marvel rubbish. So this might play to you as well. I am recommending this to 2 of my subscribers. I'm not recommending it to everyone, but actually, yeah, I am. I think this is a decent little fill-in issue. I was going to get to the end, but there were so much little things to talk about that the video felt like it was getting long. I mean, there's stuff about Aunt Gordon's ex-wife in here. I think the great achievement here is not that it keeps throwing continuity at me, and I am a total sucker for that. I think the accomplishment is that it has one of my Spider-Man pet peeves on full display, and everything else in the story was impressing or entertaining or intriguing me enough that I never felt the need to get bothered by the fact that Peter Parker was visiting a small suburban town, and then Spider-Man happened to show up there at the same time, and nobody made the obvious connection or had the obvious realization. I'm giving this 7 thumbs up.